Hello. So today I wanted to talk about a paradox that whether you consider yourself a creative or what have you, it's something I think that human beings inherently have to sit with at some point in their lives. So recently I had to sit in stillness because, like I said, my body was incapable of movement at the time. So I had to sit in stillness, but the antidote for the pain my body was experiencing was the flow state. So, flow state, obviously insinuating movement, and stillness, meaning immobility, but those two were coexisting at the same time. And they were almost like feeding off each other, if that makes sense. So, I just wanted to come on here and talk about how, regardless of your scenario, at some point in time as a human being, you'll probably be frustrated with the limitations of our physical vehicle, like our human body, whether it's illness, injury, body image, goals, what have you. We came here with a limited container, but it is a really intelligent, powerful vehicle for us to experience the material world. So, I also wanted to come on here and explain my experience with the flow state because I think a lot of people have a general idea. They're like, oh, yeah, when someone's in their element or what have you. But I think there's more to the flow state, and there's scientists like in Colorado Springs at the Olympic Training Center. They're studying the flow state and like how to extend it and how to get there sooner for athletes. But I think it's obviously applicable to creatives as well and can be very healing. Whether you consider yourself an artist or not, anyone has access to the flow state, and anyone has access to the stillness and intelligence within themselves. So that's the point of this video. And hopefully at the end you'll have more of an insight on how this can help you in your everyday, because like I said, everyone has these capabilities. You don't need to buy a course, you don't need to get better supplies, you don't need to go to a expert training facility. You can literally do this just as you are. So first off, the flow state, one of the best examples I've ever seen is in the movie Soul, the Pixar animation one. So I'm going to show a brief clip of that just so you can have that visual in your mind as we're talking about it.
What is this place?
You know how when you humans are really into something and it feels like you're in another place? Feels like you're in the zone, right?
Yeah?
Well, this is the zone. It's the space between the physical and spiritual.
Wait a minute. I was here today during my audition. This must be where musicians come when they get into a flow.
Not just musicians. Watch this.
Oh, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou? Line!
Oops. Check this out. I have been messing with this team for decades.
And the Knicks lose another one.
So with that visual in your subconscious now, I think it's a little easier to explain the flow state and what it is. And like I said, there's people that study how to access it more efficiently, but in my experience, it happens naturally when you're doing what you love. So I think like step one is obviously to sit with yourself and go into your heart and figure out what it is that lights you up. And you know this answer. Like no one can tell you it. You can't go on ChatGPT. I mean, you can brainstorm ideas, but you'll know it when it's happening. And to just make note of those activities. Like for me, obviously, it's drawing or singing or dancing or, swimming, what have you. So find what it is that you love and what lights you up. And then the second step, I think, is just devoting time, because we can know, oh, I love to sing, or I love to perform, or I love, doing stand up, what have you. But you need to actually carve out the time to achieve that flow state that you're seeking. So, like I said, my recent experience, one of the blessings of being immobile was it gave me time to rest. I had to sit in stillness. I had to be in my bed, I couldn't move. So it did allow me that time. And during that time, I was like, wow, I can sit here and, feel sorry for myself, or I can sit here and draw, have my Frida Kahlo moment and draw from my bed. So I started doing that and I carved out the time, which allowed me to access to the flow state. And I think the third step is obviously to remove distractions, which I'm guilty of this too, but you have your phone and other things you could be doing, chores, what have you. So for me, one of like the most unexpected places has been hotels when I'm on like layovers for work. There's no distractions. It's like a minimalistic environment. I don't have cleaning or a to-do list or any like social obligations really. It's just kind of like me in this liminal container that is distraction free somehow for me. So limiting distractions I think really helps. And then yeah, like the beauty of the flow state for me, I didn't feel my back pain. I wasn't in pain when I was in the flow state. So it can be very healing because your brain and like your conscious mind is in a different realm. Like, it's showed in the video, you're in a different headspace mentally. And so I wasn't getting those pain signals, as frequently, which really helped. And I think for me, I'm always like racing against time. So the flow state for me is very effective with like healing my relationship to time because people say, oh, time flies when you're having fun, but like time literally, it like warps differently, I feel like, when you're in the flow state. So extending time or losing track of like the meticulousness of time I think is a huge benefit. And then the third more obvious one for me is you how do I say it, you're able to tap into that frequency of authenticity, which I know as humans we're told like one of the highest vibrations is love. And I'll like put the chart of like the different frequencies so you can see like love is definitely very high up there, and not to rank them because we're here for the full spectrum of the human experience, but love is definitely one of the highest frequencies. But I think, again, not ranking it, but even above that possibly could be authenticity. And that's just like your connection with the divine, your higher self, however you want to phrase that. But it's that connection that's beyond here, but you're still in the human form. So it's that bridge between the two, like I've talked about in previous videos. But I think the flow state can definitely help you, access that bridge in between the two. So obviously I'm a big fan of the flow state, and hopefully some of those tips help you. And then the second part to this, like I mentioned, is sitting with yourself. So stillness is another huge antidote for a lot of the things that people are trying to fix, find out. The answers, I think, are sitting in the stillness within yourself. And like I said, your body is highly intelligent. I know we've probably heard that before, but to understand all the things that your body is doing for you, has stored for you, like it's a technology in a way, I guess, that God has created or the creator has made for us to have access to. And there's a reason I think that so many spiritual texts emphasizes the body and the physical self and taking care of it. Like your body is a temple, which I had the funny realization the other day that I was like imagining myself as a cathedral, and I'm like, what is this? I'm not like, this like not human object. And I was sitting with it and I was like, oh, my body is a temple. Like I am the temple that the creativity and the divine is flowing through. So with, like I said, with being injured and being, dealing with illness and stuff recently, it really enforced that idea of stillness, and my body's a temple. So I really just sat with my body and I had a lot of insights. And sometimes you try to create narratives in your head, and I could sense my mind going that way, but then my body was like bringing it back. And it's like, no, no, no. Like, this is a gift. Everything is a gift. You're not being punished. You're not, you know, like healing generations of ancestral trauma and all these things. Sometimes it really is just a gift to be able to rest and sit in the quiet within yourself. and get those answers that can only come from within you. So my point being, don't overlook the stillness. And everyone was saying, like, oh, I hope you get well, which I appreciate. But I was like, it is a very sacred time for me to sit here with my body and like be a witness to the healing process and the transformation that even I can't comprehend, because again, my body knows how to heal. Everyone's body knows how to heal itself. So those are my 2 cents of the day. The flow state and stillness can be incredibly healing, and to not overlook those things. And I guess I'm moving forward now from this experience, I'm going to try to be more cognizant of that and appreciate the moments of stillness and rest more, and carve out that time that's necessary to reach the flow state. So, yeah. And I'm launching a new creative outlet. So if you want to deep dive into whatever topics I'm discussing on this channel, I'm going to also post in written format and maybe like with some art to coincide with it, but I'm going to be posting that on my Patreon. So if you're curious and want to deep dive more into these topics, you can head over to my Patreon and I will be posting there shortly as well. So thank you for listening. And if you are struggling with, like I said, illness or immobility or whatever physical issues you have, I think the stillness and flow state can be really helpful. And like I said, you don't need anything fancy. I literally was sitting in bed with like one charcoal pencil, a Kleenex, and a Q-tip, and I was like creating, because I wasn't able to go to my studio and I wasn't able to have all my art supplies and desk and whatnot. So it doesn't take much and everyone has access to it. So, all right. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.